UM. Now, we're talking just at the moment about a place called Holders Lane playing fields in Birmingham. They're sort of behind Cannon Hill Park, and Roger Lynch, who's the director of Kingsbridge Community Sports, is a man who was trying to take this asset, this sort of failing community asset, into some kind of public ownership. And Roger, we should say this is sort of part of the government's big society agenda, because we know that local councils very often have a big stock of playing fields and other buildings, things like this, which they can't really afford to maintain and repair. And the whole point of the big society is that community activists like yourself would take control of them, improve them, maintain them, but still keep them in public use and let ordinary citizens enjoy them, but with perhaps a sort of closer control than a local council might manage.
Yeah, I mean, a community organisation like Kingsbridge knows the community around that area of South Birmingham really well. So we know exactly how many cricket clubs, for example, don't currently have a home ground, and there's over 30 in the area. We also know of about 15 football clubs who've either had to move home to another part of Birmingham, which loses all connection with the local community, or they've had to pack up altogether. And the numbers of sports clubs competing in football at any rate in the area are on the decline, which is a real shame for local communities.
So one of the things you were proposing to do, for example, was create an additional cricket pitch. And I think you were saying to me that you might end up then, with the varieties of home and away fixtures morning and afternoon, create a home for up to 8 cricket clubs in South Birmingham, for which you believe there's a really unmet demand.
Yeah, I mean, the pitch that is there currently is used to a certain degree, but because of the poor state of the pitch, it's limited as to how much it can get used during the summer. What we would do is refurbish that, put the drainage in as it should be, put a new wicket in, and also, as you said earlier, put another pitch in as well to give us twice the space.
So what happened? What's gone wrong?
Well, we were making good progress. We've been going for 4.5 years, and for the first couple of years we did make some strides. Birmingham invested quite a lot of money a few years ago in developing a community asset transfer process, and we helped them a little bit with that, doing some of the trial work and working on something called valuing worth, which is a tool that looks at the social benefit of a project and then offsets that against the potential market rate of the site to hopefully give you a peppercorn rent at the end. And we were really hopeful that we would have been granted the lease of the site by now, and we could have been applying for some of the major funding to actually get the thing off the ground. Unfortunately, the whole thing has come off the road in the last year or so, and that's partly because there's been competitive interest in the site from an organisation that's got lots and lots of money, but they want it primarily for a different purpose.
And that's, I'm just trying to make sure I get the name right, that's University College Birmingham, not to be confused with many other academic institutions that have 3 initials in Birmingham. University College in Birmingham,
that's right,
the former
yeah.
College of Food.
That's right. Yeah.
And you think that their plans, although they would have included some community use, would not have guaranteed the level of community use that you were promising.
Yeah, their focus is primarily for their students, quite understandably so, and their motivation perhaps is the fact that with this sports venue as part of their campus, they would probably be able to achieve a grade A status for a college of their kind. So it's quite important for them to get that, but it's not primarily their concern with the community that's driving their bid.
And you were saying that, for example, whereas you wanted a second cricket pitch to meet an unmet demand in South Birmingham for cricket clubs, you say there are 30 clubs who would like a home pitch. For example, University College Birmingham was looking at hockey pitches, which might serve the interests of their students, but not necessarily meet the needs of the local community.
Yeah, precisely. And also there's a move afoot to have a kind of national standard football pitch on the site for use for the college students when they play their guild matches, which again is great from the point of view of the university. But do local people need a national standard pitch? They actually want grassroots pitches for lower league clubs like ourselves to play at, where we can afford to pay. Whereas a national standard pitch has got the maintenance that goes with that and is likely to be quite a high price to rent, and that will be prohibitive for quite a few local clubs that would like to play there.
So you're locked in a battle essentially with a major academic institution, and who you believe, UCB, sort of got the ear of Birmingham City Council over and above you.
I think that's how we see it, and I can understand it to a certain extent. I mean, the college have talked about having £7 million in the bank ready to spend on the site. As a grassroots community organisation like ourselves, we have about £7.7 million of potential funding that we would need to apply for. Now, that's not guaranteed. So from the council's point of view, I can kind of see one of the arguments that they're saying, well, these guys have got the cash and they're ready to go with it. But the question is that the right thing for the community?
And you obviously think it isn't.
We think very strongly that it's not, and the groups that we're involved with, community sports clubs, residents groups. I was at a residents meeting last night in Selly Park South, and many residents in the area are very, very upset with the plans that UCB have got for the site. They say this is not what the community wants.
I should stress that we did invite University College Birmingham into the studio today to discuss this with you. They declined to send a guest. They have sent a statement, though, in which they say University College Birmingham has explained that Birmingham City Council has yet to determine a formal process for dealing with the Holders Lane and Pebble Mill playing fields, and as such it would be inappropriate to make further comments at this stage. Birmingham City Council say no decisions have yet been made regarding both the Holders Lane and Pebble Mill sites, but Birmingham City Council remains committed to safeguarding community access to sporting facilities. Since two organisations have shown an interest, we would need to go through a formal procurement process, and any future lease would include conditions safeguarding public access for local schools and community groups. So what do you make of those comments, Roger?
Well, I think the phrase that's really stuck in my mind recently is that there's nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequals. And I think the procurement process that...
I'm trying to get my head around that.
I think the procurement process that the council are referring to may be seen as a very equal way of dealing with this situation. But at the end of the day, you can't compare a community grassroots sports organisation like Kingsbridge with a multi-million-pound university like UCB. And I think it's a shame that if it comes down to capital alone, how much money each party has got, then I can't see us being successful. And I think that's a real loss for community.
And when we talk about the big society, as I say, the driving thrust for this transfer of assets from local councils, either for sale or perhaps in this case as leasehold, the council might own the land, but you or another group might lease it. The whole thrust of that is to ensure that ordinary people get their hands on the assets and use them for the community benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do take the argument that someone like Kingsbridge may need a commercial partner to help them to get the funding that's necessary. And we did explore that with UCB in the early days and hoped for a long while that we would be able to work out a way of working with them. Unfortunately, the sticking point became who decides what actually gets built there and who controls that site in the long run. When we heard that UCB would only settle for for a majority stake, and they had to control what went on the site, we didn't feel that was right for the community.
Roger, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. It's Roger Lynch, who's Director of Kingsbridge Community Sports, which is attempting to take control on behalf of the community, the people who live around there, of Holders Lane playing fields in Birmingham. I don't know if anybody else around Birmingham and the Black Country has had a similar situation, because the government is encouraging the transfer of community assets to local communities, stuff they own like buildings and playing fields, into the hands of local people. But in Roger's view, here is an example of how the good idea of the big society can sometimes turn wrong.